even though he's been good in the duo with Kamara, of course. But, he's still a guy who needs a volume of touches, I think, to be his best. Another part of this, though, so there's a player I've had my eye on this whole season, a college player, a draftee, and I wasn't sure if he was going to come out because he was a redshirt junior, not a super well known guy. But James Williams out of Washington State, fairly small. I think he's 5'8", 5'9", but pretty thick. Probably in the 200-pound range. I don't have his measurables in front of me, but I know that something right around there. But he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield, catches everything, can make something happen with the ball in his hands once he's caught it, runs good routes, and he's even an effective runner if you want to hand the ball off to him. But so basically what I'm saying is I think the distinct offense that the Saints can go to is an offense where they're running a lot of 2 running back sets. Certainly the value of running backs, individual running backs in today's game, and this is a lot of the stuff that Football Outsiders would argue. And I admit, I've been listening nonstop to their Off the Charts podcast, going back all the way to when it started in 2015. So I've got a lot of that on the brain anyway. But I've been thinking about this. How can we make like kind of a distinct offense, and something that fits who we are and what we do? And if you think about it too, the best the Saints offense has ever been was 2011. And what made that offense? I mean, a lot of things. Obviously, Brees was peak Brees, but you had Darren Sproles and Pierre Thomas, 2 elite pass-catching running backs. And Ingram is good as a pass catcher, and obviously he's good in pass protection, and he's a very good runner. But he's not an elite pass catcher. So I think if you have 2 elite pass catching running backs, that can be kind of your distinct offense that no other team would be able to, or defenses wouldn't be able to prepare for that week in and week out, because it would be unique. And so it would be a unique challenge for any defense to have to face 2 elite running back pass catchers. And that's what, obviously Kamara is that. And then if you were to add James Williams, who I think is the best pass catching running back in this year's draft, you would have a unique offense. And I think you can probably get him probably 4th round, so you may have to trade up, maybe package your 2 sixths, or package maybe a 6 and a 7, or even maybe your 5 and a 7 or 5 and a 6, whatever it takes. But I would consider that, because I think that gives you a distinct offensive look. And obviously, as a draft pick, he wouldn't cost anything, relatively speaking. In fact, he wouldn't even count against this year's cap, because the rookie cap is a distinct cap. Now, of course, they get incorporated into the cap in their second year, but there's a rookie cap that's separate from the rest of the cap. At least that's how it used to be. I'm pretty sure that's how it still works. So I think, and that would fit Brees, what Brees has done well this year and the last couple of years, which is throwing the guys out of the backfield. His air yards stats, he's among the fewest air yards, which basically just means he throws at or near the line of scrimmage, or within about 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, among the most in the NFL the last couple of years. And it's been effective because, a lot of those balls are going to Alvin Kamara, I don't know why I'm calling them Alvin Kamara, and Michael Thomas, who, both those guys obviously can make defenders miss too. And Kamara, of course, is, pretty high up on the broken tackles list, as is Washington that I talked about. And he may even be able to add a little bit of something, catching the ball out of the backfield. We haven't really seen that yet, but he may be able to. And look at that, two pretty simple moves, and I think you've created an opportunity to win the Super Bowl in 2019 and continued success in 2020 and beyond. So next you look at, okay, Andrus Peat, maybe that's Andrus. Obviously a highly productive player, great offensive lineman, been very good as a guard, but hurt a lot. He's about to cost $9.5 million against the cap. And I don't believe, I know the Saints traditionally have paid their offensive linemen pretty well. I don't know that they need to pay him $9.5 million or have him count. They can pay him whatever they want, but I don't think they need him to cost $9.5 million against the cap. So I would look at trading him potentially for another guy who can come in, maybe another weapon, receiver or tight end. And I'm sure some team would do that trade if they're desperate for a guard and they have a little bit of cap space. They might give up, a receiver or tight end who can come in and be another weapon. And then lastly, and I don't really have the answer to this right now. I don't know who I would pick for this, but I do think you need a 2019 replacement for Sheldon Rankins. By all accounts, he's probably out at least until December. And so you need a guy who can create a legitimate pass rush from the middle. The big name out there certainly is Chris Jones from Kansas City. I think he's going to get franchise tagged, but we'll see. And even if he weren't, I don't think he'd be the guy I'd go with. I think there's some cheaper options. There's even, maybe that's where you go with your second pick in the draft, because this is an incredibly deep draft for defensive linemen. And so there may be a guy there with your second round pick that you can get to fill that. Now, will he produce in year one like Rankins? Probably not. And so you may still have to bring in a veteran to do that. But that may be a position you go look at. Of course, you also have to decide, do you want to re-sign Tyler Davison, who I believe is unrestricted this season, maybe restricted. I can't remember for sure off the top of my head. I don't have this stuff pulled up in front of me. This is all pretty much from memory. But certainly there's a decision you have to make with Davison. You have to make a decision with Alex Okafor, which I would bring back personally. Another interesting thing I noticed, though, when looking at Spotrac, which is a database which has all the team salaries and player salaries and cap information and all of that, is that you actually have Okafor and Bridgewater have some dead cap money already included in the 2019 cap. Now, I don't know how that works in terms of if you sign them. And so that's something else to consider. That money might go towards the cap. I don't know. And maybe then you just add on whatever additional salary they would have for that year. I'm not a CBA expert, although I've taken a class and gotten some instruction on the CBA. It's a little more than I'm completely aware of how everything works. My inclination, though, would be to think that it would, that you would just kind of subtract that number from their salary, and so obviously their cap hits would go up, but they wouldn't be dead cap hits anymore, I believe. But obviously in both cases that would require re-signing each of them. So we'll see. I think those are the major decisions. I know there's going to be people who want Tyrann Mathieu, and I think that's a move you make if he goes unsigned for a couple weeks and you've made all your other big acquisitions or re-signings or whatever. I think that's something you do later in the offseason, or later in the progression of the offseason at least. But yeah, so in a nutshell, I mean, I can get into more details, and I plan to write an article on this and do more X's and O's and stats, and I'll embed this podcast hopefully into that article. but yeah, so go into more depth. But this is kind of a broad overview with some specifics of kind of what I'm looking for this offseason from the Saints. So this has been Will Osgood. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I expect this, or what I hope at least the Saints do this offseason. So for the NOLA Rundown, you can catch us on Medium at the NOLA Rundown, Facebook, the NOLA Rundown, even Instagram. We have one. I haven't really posted anything on there, but we're on there. And you can catch me at Will Osgood on Twitter, Instagram, or it's at Will Osgood 116. I'm sorry. That would be for Twitter and Medium. And keep checking on us. We'll hopefully be doing some more stuff with Jordan and hopefully Jason Bernos and even some other guests. So until then, signing off. Peace.